into our last seminar of Spikes Asia 2019, which is a big one in every sense of the word, because it's about quantum video and taking a closer look at 1 billion hours a day of watch time. So please give your biggest round of applause of the whole 3 days to the Global Brand Product Strategy Lead at Google's Unskipable Labs, Tobias Walter.
Yes, it is. Yes, now it is on. Hello, everyone. My name is Tobias. I am a creative strategist at Google on a team called Unskipable Labs, and I'm the only thing that stands between you and happy hour. So, Unskipable Labs, get first things first. Why are we called Unskipable Labs? Why is that our name? Because we believe every ad is skippable. No matter if it's on TV, no matter if it's on YouTube, no matter if it's on any other social media platform, skipping means not paying attention to it anymore, deciding to choose something else to watch and paying attention to. This is what skippable means. So your goal, your campaign goal is to make every single campaign a little bit better, to make it the most, not only better, to make it the most make it funny, make it heart-wrenching, make it emotional, make it the best campaign that you've ever created. My job is, and my ambition is, to make all of the ads and all of the campaigns that are out there a little bit better. So, how do we do this? Well, first of all, we watch a lot of ads. We watch ads to identify and see patterns, figure out what are the structures that we're seeing in ads. So at the beginning of this year, I watched around 6,000 FBR ads, looking through what are the patterns that we're seeing, what is it that works in food and beverage ads versus what is it that does not work. Then we marry that with the data, with the tools that we have available on our end, and at the end of it, we run experiments. Experiments with major advertisers across the globe. We run a bunch of these in APAC, in this region of the world as well. So, in 2019, we live in a world where we have to choose, we're able to choose what we want to watch. There is so much to dedicate our attention to pay our attention to. One of the facts, or one of the stats that I really like is we are receiving 140 newspapers worth of information every single day. So there's someone coming to our doorstep at the beginning of the day, rings the doorbell, drops 140 newspapers worth of information, and we decide what gets into these 140 newspapers every single day. We decide what we are choosing, and to be quite frank with you, a forced 30-second is not what we are choosing. So this festival would be called Spikes Festival of Forced 30 Seconds. We would dedicate our whole time to 30 seconds if this is the thing that is really working. But as said, it's something that we don't see resonating with users. And what is resonating is really revealing on the other hand, and that is what I'll be talking about a bit more. First of all, contrary to popular belief, we don't hate ads. We hate bad ads. What we're actually seeing on our platform is that if the content is interesting, if users are deciding to choose the content, they lean in. They watch more of it. View-through rates have gone up massively from 2011 all the way to 2019. But on the other hand, what we're seeing is that shorter works as well. The bumper ad, which is the 6-second ad on our platform, is something that we see drive results across the funnel, from the top ad recall awareness all the way down to consideration and purchase intent for some of the verticals. So, longer works, view-through rates are rising, shorter works, longer really works. When we look at something that we call our YouTube ads leaderboard, which is where we put together the best ads, the best creatives that we have in an industry, in a country, in a given month, what we see is the average length in 2019 is 1 minute and 46 seconds. 1 minute and 46 seconds average. This is what we as consumers are dedicating our time to, which is mind-blowing to me. But on the same time, what we're seeing is longer, okay, might work, but what we're seeing is variety works as well. If we take our advertisers' hats off for a second, we are all consumers now. Think about, do you really want to see this one storyline over and over again? So we as creatives, oftentimes, we create this one story and then we blast it in the market over again using all the platforms. But as consumers, what we want is variety. We want to find out the storyline, one of the characters, one of the nuances. What is it that we're seeing and why is it working? And I was already alluding to food and beverages about 5 minutes ago when I started my talk over here. When I was watching or when we were looking for patterns in food and beverage ads, what we found is that we wanted mouth-watering, we wanted delicious, we wanted tasty. This is where social media has gotten us to think about when was the last time where you've posted a shitty photo to Instagram, for example. Well, there was no last time, right? It's delicious, it's mouth-watering, but it's just the food, and that does something to us. It does something to us because we want to taste, we want to have a delicious food. We don't want to see other people eating my food, our food. No matter if they bite and smile. But we do want people, we do want humans in tech and in auto where it's really important to humanize, to make clear what this new brake assist, lane assist is for. This new smartphone has 6 cameras, another smartphone has 7 cameras, 8 cameras. I don't know where the threshold is at the moment, but what does it mean? Is that better, 7 cameras? Are those better versus 6? What does it do for me? It's got a low light feature. It captures the best selfies with my friends in a club. Now I start getting it. So we see those disparities along the way. And what we also see on the other hand is the explosion of signals. And that is actually something that I'm really excited about. Explosion of signals mean targeting options, digging in, using those, and not just the obvious. Someone is watching XYZ, so get them XYZ, but also targeting signals such as live events, someone in a live stage. Google has 7 platforms with over 1 billion users each. We figure out those patterns, we see where users and how users are moving, and we are able to tell what live stage some of the folks are in. And those signals work. They work. They outperform demo every single time, so much to demo actually being the weakest signals of all. So if you don't even change the storyline, it is working. It gets you an additional impact on consideration and purchase intent versus the same ads with demo alone. But this is not where we want to stop. What we started at the beginning of this year and what we just wrapped up is we did an audience experiment with signals, personalization, customization, with 52 different brands across the globe. We did a significant amount of that research and that experimentation in APAC as well. And what we found and what we realized is that, first of all, signals work. They get you 10 to 15% additional value in effectiveness. But more interestingly to us and interestingly to you guys as creatives, as the most creative, talented folks in this region, is that there are different signals that emerge and that are way stronger than just what I'm watching and what I'm interested in. And there is one word that's been around for quite some time, and this word is relevance. We've been using relevance over and over again. Relevance is a very rational concept, and we've been burying a lot of the potential that we as creatives have under the concept of relevance. Relevance is great if you're talking to someone has just become a father or a mother, has gotten a new kid, needs a bigger car, needs a mid-size SUV, for example. There's a clear need. This person can clearly be identified and gets and the ad that he or she might be interested in. But what about creating desire, trigger a craving? How do we work on these stories as creatives? How can we lean in on these? What potential is there? We cannot only worship the gods of efficiency. We cannot just figure out and leave signals and patterns and structures, data to folks that rationally make sense of it, or we will end up in a very, very boring place of this society and of this advertising ecosystem. So which ones are the good ones versus the not so good ones? Which ones are the strong signals, the strong patterns, versus which ones are the not so strong signals? How can we break through the noise? How can we identify signals that are interesting, where stories resonate for you guys as creatives? What are the ones that you want to take on? Well, to be fair, at the moment, we are a little bit drunk on data. And I'm a lot alluding to the happy hour at this point in time. We are drunk on data because, once again, we try to rationalize everything. He looks up sports on Google, gets a sports ad the next time he is on the Google Display Network on YouTube. She watches beauty content, maybe a lipstick ad is what she wants to see. We rationalize these things and make it obvious, but there's so much more. And this is the second half of my presentation, and this is a loud and clear appeal to you guys. Data needs a story. And this is where you guys are coming in. You are the most skilled, talented, best suited audience for the tasks that are about to come, and figure out patterns that are way more interesting than just the rational matching of someone watches XYZ, so this someone gets XYZ. What we're actually seeing is there is a strong confirmation bias. We look at data. How many times have you been looking at data? How many times have you gotten a data pull or a data source? And what we try to do is we only want to see and we only identify these things that we know of, that we're very well aware of already. So we look for what we want to see and what is there to see. There's a strong confirmation bias, instead of looking beyond and looking at the potential and the could be. So we've dedicated much more time and much more work towards the concept of what could be. As part of the audience experimentation, we partnered with Aero Mexico and Ogilvy in Mexico. And what we did is we wanted to find out the balance between story, between product story and brand story. And I can tell you much, much more about this experiment, really interesting, during the happy hour in just a bit. But what was interesting to see for us is something that we didn't expect. Women in that particular experiment reacted much, much, much more strongly versus men. As part of the food and beverage experiment, or the project that I was running, what we did is we put together 33 ads of different cheese pull, stock footage cheese pull scenes, piece them together to identify, is it just the visual layer? Can we add the cracking of the pizza crust? Can we speak to it? How much more does all of that do? Does it do any better? Does it do any more? And what we've identified, what we've seen is that you can stack various layers of deliciousness. Visual is just one layer, audio is the next, speaking to it another one. But once again, what we saw is that women reacted so much more strongly to it versus men. And we're like, wait a second. Is there a story that we want to tell? So we took all of this to our friends at HBO. Any Game of Thrones fans in the audience tonight or this afternoon? There's a couple hands over there. Westworld is their next big thing. And when season 2 launched at the beginning of this year, they turned to us because they were heavily under-indexing with women. And they were like, what is the story that we could tell in that regards? And they cut 6 trailers with us, 6 different ones. And I want to show you guys the first one, the first trailer that they did over here. Have a look at this one.
All my life, I've prided myself on being a survivor. But surviving is just another loop. It's all a story created by you to keep me here. That's not going to work any longer. We're stronger than them. Smarter. We don't have to live this way.
I built all of this. Did you really think I would let you take it from me?
At first, I thought you and the others were gods. Then I realized you're just men. And I know men.
So what we saw in the data is that there is this main character, Maeve, that women reacted to much more strongly, along with some of the scenes that you just saw in this short snippet. So we pieced this together with the help of the creative team at HBO, wonderful folks. This was one of the scenes, one of the trailers that we cut. Here's another one that I want you guys to have a look at. So the first one, once again, is the trailer that portrays, or the narrative is through the eyes of Maeve, one of the lead character. And the other one is a trailer that portrays much more of the Western world and of the sci-fi elements. There's more blood in there, there's more guns in there, there's more violence in there. And what we saw is that both outperformed the control, which we had in market as well. The second that you saw is the one that outperformed with men. And the first one that you saw outperformed by far with the female audience. 1.4 times. Not just a bit, it tremendously outperformed the first one. So there is a sort of storyline, there's a different storyline that seems to resonate with different groups, different chunks of the audience. And I want you guys to encourage, and I want to show you some more examples of what and how this could work. Let me show you one more examples, and I want to hold your thoughts on that particular one because I want to wrap it up in one particular one. What we did is we took all of these findings that we had from HBO, from the audience experiment, from the food experiment, and we took them to Maserati. We took them to Maserati because they gave us a brief. They had the launch of the new Maserati Levante, and they wanted us to tell better stories with two particular chunks of the audience. One being in market for an SUV for Maserati, men, and then in market for an SUV, specifically women. Let's have a look at those two and hold your thoughts. So, first one, in market for men. Second one, in market for women. So much about those two. Well, you guys in the audience might now be like, for those of you who have seen the Breaking the Glass ceiling talk a bit earlier. So all of what you, Tobias, can tell us today is gender cliches work. Is that what your talk is all about? So if this is how these two feel, right? A bit too cliche, a bit too simplistic. First of all, did they work? Yes, they did. But they did not work to an extent that the HBO, the Westworld ones worked. Because at the end of the day, this is exactly what happens. For Maserati, we had to work with an existing pool of footage, and this is the best what we could come up with. But what happened and what we did is confirmation bias. We were trying to match what we think we knew, and we're trying to rationalize what we think we knew. So the question is gender targeting the next new big things and having two different stories by men and women? No, absolutely not. But then the question is, what is the next big thing? What are we going to get into? What are we getting into? Actually, I have a good friend of mine at BBDO, and he was saying to me, listen, Tobias, the next time I'm getting a brief that's on millennials or Gen Z specifically, I'm going to quit my job. I don't want to get a brief. Is age, is gender really the grouping factor? Is that how we should be telling our stories? So what we did is we created another fake brand called Wonder Pilot. Wonder Pilot being a travel brand. And what we wanted to explore this time is, most of you are probably familiar with Myers-Briggs type indicators, personality tests. And one of the indicators being whether you are a more rational, thinking-leaning person or whether you're a more emotional, feeling-leaning person. And we wanted to explore, maybe there's something in there, rational, emotional. And so what we did is we divided our targeting signals on our platform in a more rational versus in a more emotional side of things, and created 2 different ads to appeal to either or. Let me show you the emotional, the expansive ad first, and then I'm going to show you the second one right after.
Busy? No one cares. What are you living? A spreadsheet, a meeting, a deadline? Good job. That's not why your heart beats. Good job. That's not the story you want to tell. Good job. Productive. You're a cog in a machine you can't even see. Can't see, can't breathe, can't live. It's not impossible. To take one step to the left. Turn your head toward the light and keep moving. Hunt the morning. Hunt the key for a lock in your heart shaped like a sunrise. Hunt the story of a day you spent that you will tell for the rest of your life. You can. You should. You must. Wonder Pilot.
So without really knowing what Wonder Pilot is about, 50%, according to our research, 50% of the audience must now be like, well, this sounds interesting. I want to engage this service. And the other 50% of the audience probably be like, well, not really. Well, maybe this is the part of the audience that is more rational, more thinking, more leaning towards that territory. So let's have a look at the second one, at the rational, focused one.
Bottom line, we wasted 658 million vacation days last year. That's like handing your boss $600 for the privilege of working too hard. Why don't we go? You're too busy. We're looking at our phones 300 times a day. Aren't there other things worth looking at? Wonder Pilot gives you 3 great options. You'll get exactly what you need, organized to make your trip simple and seamless. Bottom line, your blood pressure drops, you get happier, you live longer. No excuses. We do all the work, you have all the fun. 100% human, 100% organized. Are you ready? It's 100% time to go. Wonder Pilot.
So, did these work? Yes, they worked. But more interestingly, something that we stumbled across, and once again, it's not about confirming what you want to see, but about looking beyond, trying to figure out what was unexpected. What was unexpected about those 2 ads was that whenever the video matched the concept, the framing of the person, so a rational person saw the rational one, we saw high lifts in consideration, but we saw drops and very low lifts in ad recall. And we saw it the other way around. When it was not in sync, high ad recall, no consideration. And we were confused. We were like, why is that? Why are we seeing this pattern? So we went to a friend of ours at NYU, NYU University in New York, and we asked him, it was like, this is what we're seeing. And he was like, well, listen, guys, this is perfectly natural. This is the concept of congruence theory. Congruence theory meaning if something is in line with our beliefs, we are much more likely to consider it, to take action. If something is not in line with our belief, we're not taking action, but we remember it. How many times, think of you, this one fight that you had with your significant other, and you can't let go of this fight. It lingers in the back of your head for weeks, for months, because you disagree with it. So you recall it over and over again. So I've talked about length, I've talked about variety, I've talked about frequency, I've talked about signals. I can see a confused look on your faces right now. You're like, Tobias, so what is it? Well, unfortunately, there is not one golden key. There is not one thing that rules them all. But there's one thing that's going to make this a little bit better. And it's one of the greatest buzzwords of our times: machine learning. Machine learning is not this concept to popular belief that's going to come and take away our jobs. Machine learning is something very, very different. To put it in the words of Ben Evans, who's a tech analyst, data analyst in Silicon Valley, what he was saying is machine learning is a billion interns and not a billion Einsteins. And we love our dear interns. They're doing a fantastic and exceptional job, but they don't have the work experience of an executive creative director, for example. So these are the words that he puts it in. Machine learning is something that can help us cut through the struggle and identify patterns in data that we haven't seen before. Actually, out of the 100 billion words that go through Google Translate every single day, the 3 most common translated patterns are: how are you? Thank you. I love you. So much about data revealing our most essential humanity, being what we as humans really are. Bruce Sterling has once said, we must trawl oceans of data with engines of meaning. And that's exactly why and how I'm speaking to you guys today. It's really easy to trawl the oceans with machine learning, trawl the oceans of data with machine learning. Where you guys come in, and where you're more equipped and skilled than anyone else out there in some of the other industries, is the curiosity, is the hope, is the imagination, is the blank canvas thinking that you guys bring to the table every single day. And that is what's needed when I talk about engines of meaning. So I want you guys to leave the room with 3 simple things. First of all, data is a creative problem. Don't leave it to the analysts. Don't leave it to the ones that work with the data every single day and wait for them to surface the nuggets and the findings. Sit right next to them. Go through the data with them. Otherwise, you'll have a high likelihood of ending up with something that is rationally relevant, but boring as fuck. Excuse my language. And on the other hand, something that won't really resonate, or there will be nuggets that are more resonating, that you guys can uncover, that you guys can find. And that's where I'm leaning on you, where we are leaning on you to solve and partner. Secondly, there is more risk in standing still than pushing ahead. I think it won't be as surprising to you if I tell you there's more data coming along your ways, along our ways. On our side of the game, we are now looking at sub-vertical levels, trying to figure out patterns within verticals, so we're already a level deeper. So there's more data coming our ways. Lean in it, embrace it. There's more risk in standing still. And the last one, get help. None of us can go alone. It's not just about us, it's not about you, it's about partnering. We've partnered with so many creative agencies, and I want to partner with so many more, leaning in on this, getting to experiment, finding some of the patterns that are new, that are different, and that we want to test and that we want to explore a bit more. So please partner with us on those specific ones. And the very last one, as you guys head into happy hour, and as you guys head into your well-deserved weekends, there's one thing that I want to give you along, that I want you to take along from myself. And that is, thank you. I love you. I love you because I love you, because you've decided to include me in your 140 newspapers of today. You've decided to spend 30 minutes listening to me and what I have to say. I'm part of your 140 newspapers, and that's something that I feel very, very grateful for. With that, enjoy happy hour.
Thank you very much, Tobias.